I have an amazing guest on my show. Uh, Let me just mute everything. I have Chastity, and we are here for an amazing conversation. And before we get started, like I wanna say that what I love about entrepreneurship and coaching industry in particular is that we have so many people from so many walks of life living their purpose, walking in their purpose, living the life by design. And we are here for an amazing discussion. So, Chastity, welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you. So,
Thank
can you share with I know who you are, but can you share with my audience who you are, what is your background, and how did we get here?
Okay. Well, good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for welcoming me to the show today. I am Chasity Wells-Armstrong, and I am currently a leadership and career coach, really specializing in women. And I am a former mayor. So I was the first Black mayor elected in the city of Kankakee, Illinois in 2017, after becoming the first Black city council member for Ward 5 in the city of Kankakee. I have worked for two members of Congress. I'm a policy geek. Background is in social work. That's what my formal education is in. But once I was in my social work programs, I really learned how impactful public policy is in the everyday lives of people. And so I had an opportunity to serve as a policy fellow in 2007 in Washington, D.C. I was nationally selected for that. And that is when I got my policy bug. And I've been in that space for a long time ever since.
Hey, I love that. I love that. So, as we're participating, as we're going live, so for people who are live on YouTube or and on LinkedIn, so if you have questions for us, if something resonates with you, so leave it in the comments, and let us know where you're watching us from. So I will be selecting questions, so like more so in the middle till the end of our show. But right now, I have a question. Um, what like, you know, when it comes to like coaching industry become really kind of popular, especially during in like 2020 during pandemic. We we've seen rise a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of coaches, and a lot of coaches were really successful. But I am curious with your really outstanding background. What inspired you to really get into entrepreneurship and really get into coaching?
So I have been a coach my whole life. I am the oldest of five siblings, and I was raised very closely with my aunt's children, my cousins. And so I've always been coaching in some kind of way. And I went into the political space during 2009 when President Obama was elected, who was our first Black president. And as you know, if you've watched politics, paid attention in the United States, we have become progressively hostile. It's become extremely volatile. And that all started when he was elected. We started to see a shift, in terms of civility, that we no longer agree with, we can't just disagree. We now have to destroy the other person if they don't see it our way and that sort of thing. And that has just continued to escalate. And so, when I got elected in 2017, the president, the name that must not be mentioned, I will not say his name, had went in January, and I went in as mayor in May. And 2017 was coined the year of the Black woman mayor because there was historical elections all over the country where Black women were being elected for the first time. And so for me, after going through that experience, I think it takes some naivety about, what it really is like to serve in that capacity. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't do it. But after enduring what I endured, I knew that it was not in alignment with what I wanted to continue to do. And not in terms of service, but in terms of the campaigning and what it takes, the dirty campaigning and all of that. I'm just not willing to participate in that type of activity, behavior, energy. I'm not willing to do that in order to have power or to win. So it was no long it wasn't in alignment. And I didn't have to do that when I campaigned because I was such an underdog.
Hmm.
And it's not my style anyway to do that. And but it was a very nasty reelection cycle. So I knew that I was done.
Okay. It's like, and this is so refreshing to me too, because it's one thing when you are watching this, like those scandals, like on TV, on social media, and like as a viewer, right, as a citizen, right, I'm thinking those people are supposed to serve me, but how, like, I can't, like, I block my friends on Facebook when they got that messy, and I don't talk to them anymore. How I'm supposed to deal with the public servants that, like, I am essentially hiring, I'm voting for them, I'm giving them a job. How I can give them a job when they, like, so messy. It is so interesting to hear this perspective from you. So uh, so Chastity and we chatted a little bit before the stream, and we have so many, like, wonderful, like, nuggets that we would like to touch on. One thing I would like to touch on is that there is, because I heard that from you, and I keep hearing that from my other clients who are in my program, and this uh thought that, oh, what if people will think that I'm not qualified? Because Chastity, you're more than qualified. You're a former mayor. You have awesome track record. Like, you made it. Like, if I had the definition of somebody who has made it, that's you. So, can you speak a little bit to that? When we feel as not quite qualified, and how to battle this feeling?
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I turned to coaching because I wanted to use all the skills that I've had and the experiences that I've had. I have been told numerous times in my life that I couldn't do something because somebody wanted to put me in a package or in a box. And I think for people of color, we're even seeing it now. We have a vice president who is currently running for president of the United States, being reduced to a DEI hire, even though she went to a prominent HBCU university in this country. Has been all her credentials, right? Been a prosecutor, been a U.S. senator, all these different things. We're always reduced to you're not qualified. Like that's the first. For me, I call it's tools of oppression. It's tools that racist and white supremacy, the systems that they have built, these are the tools that they use to oppress people of color. And that's one of the reasons why I coach women. And I particularly want to help women who are aspiring to public office because you're going to have to do some inner work and really put a plan in place to take care of yourself because they're going to come for you. And it doesn't matter what position you run for, but it's really important to me that we have representation. And women right now are 51% of the population in the United States, but we only hold about 28% of those seats. And so when you don't have the voices in the room or at the table that's making these decisions, we're left out of the decision making. And so my one of the things I coach on that I'm very passionate about is confidence. And people of color are what people of color need is access and opportunity. It's not that
Hmm.
we're less qualified, it's not that we're not smart and that we can't learn or anything like that. A lot of times it's the lack of access and it's the lack of opportunity. And so for me, helping people change their mindset around that, um, the way we've been conditioned and in culture, that we're less than, it's not true. It's not true. And it's okay to be afraid. I was nervous about getting on this podcast today, but I have I have a very unique talent of leaning into my fear despite even when I'm, unsure about something, it's the first time or I'm meeting people for the first time and I don't know them, I still lean in.
Mm.
And that's what
This
I help people do.
this is so good. So when I'm legitimately curious, what are the credentials? If somebody like if there is a young lady watching this podcast or recording or listening to it right now, and she might think, I would like to serve. I would like to be a public servant. I would like to, and the way I can do it, I'm called to be a politician, a mayor, or whatever. I'm calling to run for office. But how do I know that I could make it? Where do I even start? So, what would you advise to those ladies, to those people?
There are a number of groups right now that I wasn't even aware of when I was mayor, and they're wonderful. And one that I work closely with is called Represent Women. There's another one called She Should Run. Higher Heights works with Black women, getting them elected. Emily's List works more with the national candidates, but there's several organizations that help. If people are interested in running, you could go to your county clerk's office or the city's clerk's office or the school board, depending on which position you would want to run. And everybody has their own rules in terms of what you need, but there's no certain degree for the most part. It's usually an age requirement. An 18-year-old can't run for president in the United States. So, there's certain age requirements for certain positions, but it's really about having a passion for serving people and being willing to do the work to learn the issues and to be a fierce advocate. And that's what I was. They tried that whole, she's nobody was born being a mayor. Nobody came out of their mother's womb and was held up and crowned the mayor.
Mayor.
Everybody, it doesn't work like that, and everybody, everybody has experience and unique experiences that they can bring to the table as long as they're willing to learn the issues, to read and do their homework. They have to be engaged, they have to talk to people, they have to attend meetings and be present in the community. But as long as they're willing to do that, and they meet the age requirement, there's a residency requirement. You have to live in a, depending on what position you're running for a certain number of days. But I say go for it. And now you have a coach like me that specifically works with women to help them get ready. And just to clarify, I'm not the person you come to find out how many doors you need to knock. I'm not doing campaign work. I'm working with you as an individual to prepare you for the dynamics that you're going to face as a woman in office, the biases that you will come up against as a woman, and to get you prepared with a plan to keep yourself well, because you can be pulled in so many directions, and you have to set some boundaries,
This is
and you have
so
to.
good. Yeah. So, go coming to your origin story. This is just so fascinating to me, like listening to you, because I see so many connections with entrepreneurship. Like as a coach, you have to show up, you have to be a part of your community, you have to have passion to help people. At least this is what I believe, right? There are different coaches teach different philosophies, but when it comes to really transitioning to entrepreneurship, and really starting your business, what challenges you had to overcome, and what would you advise somebody else who's maybe not on the political path, but more so on entrepreneurial part on path?
What would I advise them?
Yeah.
Well, for me, challenges. One is just seeing myself as an entrepreneur. I did not come from a family of entrepreneurs or business owners. Changing my mindset around money. That's been a big one. And again, the o- the racism that we have been groomed in, we don't oftentimes think of ourselves as experts, people of
Hmm.
color and women. You know, women are still paid less than men. I believe in August, excuse me, July, we just had Black women's equal pay day because Black women are paid 66 cents on the dollar for their white male counterparts. So it's been ingrained in our systems and our structures and our institutions and our culture that in some way we are not as good as a white man. And so I think a lot of us have to do some work around mindset and particularly around money and our value because we have always been undervalued and underestimated and underrepresented. So that's been a challenge. And then the other thing is technology. I will admit I was spoiled when I was the mayor. I had an administrative assistant, an executive assistant in positions that I've been in. And so I'm having to learn a lot of technology. And so if someone is coming into entrepreneurship, my advice would be to get a coach, and to really before you sign up with a coach, because I've had a bad experience with one, to really do some research on their program, talk to some people who've been to their program, ask for some references, but really get aligned to a coach so that you can get on a path. Because it's easy to be, trying to put your hand in 50 different pots and you're not making the traction that you need to make. And a coach can help you prioritize and streamline and get you on a path so that you can make some incremental steps in your business.
Yeah, like this is so good. And I want to touch on the compensation too, because my background, I had three careers, and one of them was in tech. And what was really astonishing, and I don't have the data and the charts and the numbers like to pull up and say, hey, engineers are making this much, white engineers or other engineers for that matter making that much. But I had so way too many conversations that I like when black engineers, software engineers, they would make 80K per year for the position where everybody else with the same amount of experience would make 120, 150, or 200K for the same role. And what is astonishing to me, and this is why I'm so passionate to really help people to break into entrepreneurship, because they were happy that they are making 80K. I like, do you understand that I am with the same experience, I'm making 147K doing a little less than you do. And you working your ass off for 80K, trying to please everybody, like you work three times as much and you're getting just like you do you understand you need to like you need to go like you need to look for another job, you need to look for a job that will pay you what the market pays for software engineers and not settle for less.
Mhm. It's interesting you say that because probably most people, especially in my generation, were raised with parents that told them you have to work 2 to 3 times as hard. And it's very interesting you said that because that's been ingrained in me. And it was actually like my motto when I was the mayor that nobody would outwork me. And yeah, in my primary, there were four of us in the primary. And people were like, you're not going to win. It's too many. It's too many Black people in the race. And that was my motto. Nobody is going to outwork me. And I walked that entire city and knocked doors, and nobody did outwork me. And even though the council, I had 14 on council for a small town of 26,000, a city of 26,000, 14 people on a council was a lot. I think Atlanta has 15. So if you compare population size, 26,000 people, 14 is excessive. And, I had, obstructionists, the night of the election. But one way that I was able to get so much done is that I outworked them. I'm a reader. I love to read. I'm going to do my homework. When I show up, I've done my homework. And so whatever they came to me with, it was stressful, but I usually was able to maneuver around them because I had done my homework and I knew the ordinances, I knew the law, I knew the statutes in the state, and I was able to move things the way I needed to move things. But that is something I think is very common with people of color. We are taught that very young that we have to work 2 to 3 times as hard, just to just to, and we still aren't compensated fairly. And that's one thing I'm extremely passionate about. One of my clients I'm working with now, um, she just turned pro as a bodybuilder. She is a professional bodybuilder, and what she was charging in her program was I was just like, no, we're not doing this. We're not doing this anymore. We're not being underpaid. Women are under earners for a long time in their careers. Some women never come out of that, but most women are under earning in their career. And I want to be here to change that. I want them to have the confidence to change that because they can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And this is kind of what I touched on when it was on Tuesday. Sometimes you just have to build your own table. Like sometimes you just have to do it because the systems, the structures, like they're not designed for a lot of people, especially for Black entrepreneurs, especially for Black engineers, because this is the vast majority of clients that I serve, and like I really like what you said about the price because this is the money mindset, right? When I start working with entrepreneurs, like how much people undercharge, like, and I mean by a lot.
Mhm,
And like really, what really amazes me is to see the transformation from $20 per hour for like just a consultation to like 2,500, $3,000 like course. Like, okay, like and then people realize, oh my gosh, I can actually charge that. I can actually have premium consultations, premium VIP days if people don't want to work with me for like 6 months. And like I think I can absolutely, Chastity, relate to you like when you say that you inspire people to really get paid what they worth because it is available.
mhm,
It just sometimes we have to build our own tables.
mhm. And it's a mindset shift when you talked about, becoming a new entrepreneur. When you come from a space where you've been an employee, you look at your income, your contribution, your work, is broken down into what you do per hour. But as an entrepreneur, there's a shift to what value am I bringing? What is the long term value of the service I'm providing? So if I can help you see your value and you can charge 3 times what you were charging, which is reasonable for what you're providing. She's in fitness. So
Hmm.
you have people that are no longer taking blood pressure medication. You have people that they're extending their life. They're extending the quality of their life. They're able to get down on the floor and play with their grandkids. Those are memories. And those are invaluable things. And so it's definitely work that we have to constantly do. I think as we make that transition to be working constantly on our mindset and really focusing on the value that we're bringing and not seeing ourselves as an hourly,
Oh
you know,
yeah.
it's definitely a shift.
It is a shift because often when I start working with especially in the coaching space with new coaches or new mentors, they think, oh, I will provide consultation for like $300, $500, whatever. I say, hey, like you are so fast to really jump into trading your time for money. But what if you could flip it, right? People don't pay you for an hour of working with you. People pay you for transformation. So, for example, with one of my clients, Donovan, like the transformation is really six-figure career. So how much that outcome after working for 6 months or a year, what worth really um what you can possibly ask them for, but same um with the full chest and being confident. And this is kind of where what how price aligns. And also like reverse engineer, like we all have like I have bills, we have bills, right? Like when we have car payments, how much money do we really absolutely need? What our non-negotiable? And now based on the season of the business we're at, how much do we need to charge? Like, and this is why I always suggest go with a premium offer. Even if, like, as a new entrepreneur, you're gonna get one, two clients probably per month or something like that. It's probably gonna be your first year. Okay, how much money do you need to charge one or two people to support yourself? This is your price. And now the next step, what value you should provide for that price and how you should communicate that price.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I would like to do something different today. I would like to actually reverse tables because I often in the podcast episodes we often see like this interview one way, but it's such an honor to have you, Chastity, on the podcast, and I would like to reverse tables and reverse seats and see if you have any questions for me, and I would like to answer them too.
Oh, that's fun. Thank you. I am curious. I noticed that on your profile, you specifically work with Black and Latino entrepreneurs. Obviously, you are not Black, and it's fine that you aren't. But I'm just curious, what led you to have a passion and an interest in that particular,
Yeah.
population of people?
And that's a really, really good question. So it goes back to my origin story. So in 2013, I landed in Chicago, Illinois. So Chicago is my second home. Well, maybe first home. And I'm originally from Moscow, Russia. And when I moved to the US, and I made a decision, and it was not an easy decision to stay here no matter what. I was not qualified to stay here like without any additional legal work, right? Like I had to work with attorney, I had to like like create my case and really prove that maybe there is a way for me to stay. It was very, very risky. But as I went on, when you are in new country, you're looking for community, right? Like people who like you need to like you can't exist in isolation, especially in a new country. And Chastity, Black community, Black and Latino communities, both of those communities were the first communities that really accepted me as an equal human being, and nobody look at me that they're better than. And just the amount of kindness, openness, and transparency, it was just really unreal. And just like this trajectory continues even with my corporate career. So my second job in the US, well, maybe my third job, because like I had to work with multiple jobs. Like when you move to another country, I'm a clinical psychologist, so obviously I can't just go for a licensed occupation like just off the boat, off the plane. So there are like certain steps. So I was working in special education because this is also my specialty as a clinician. And I was working as a case manager, and I would work side by side with Black women, and like really um the amount of care, the amount of love, and the amount of like and the friendship that were formed, that like we still are friends. I still have friends that from my previous corporate life, and even before tech, that we still hang out. When I go to Chicago, we always hang out. So, and when I started my business, I am I am very much I would never recommend my majority of the time, I would never recommend my clients to rely solely on demographics. I mean, yes, Black and Latino entrepreneurs, but what else? Like what else has to be true for them to succeed in my program, right? Like they have to be okay with charging high ticket offer. They have to they have to be okay with raising their prices to at least 2,500 or more, depending what value they provide, right? And they have to be okay with like doing organic marketing, doing social selling, connecting with people and building their community. But also the data, right? When I was talking to my mentor, and I think you were also on that call as well. I thought like, okay, like I need to be really specific who I am talking to because right now I'm talking to too many people, but the data in my business suggests that people who bought my program and achieved success in my program were from Black community and Latino community. These are just like the facts. And when your business is your best mentor and best coach, because business like success leaves clues. So like, okay, I need to be very specific. And it was niching down is never comfortable. Like no matter if you niching down on a person or in the process or on the price or on the vehicle's transformation, that was a little nerve-wracking to me. But like also so many people from the community told me like, Eugene, you just have to go and tell your story because people know that about like we know like for me like it's not new like and even when I went back to my clients and I say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I need your honest feedback. Don't be afraid to hurt my feelings. I'd rather you hurt my feelings as my clients than like the market will hurt my feelings big time. And my client said, like, Eugene, what do you mean? Like, I thought that this is who you're working with, like, but I guess now you realize that you just work with us. So like this is not new to us. I maybe it's new to you, but like you don't have to really change much in your messaging. Like we see you who you hanging out with, we see who you engaging with, we see who you support, right? Because again, like if you support like I don't know, if you support women and entrepreneurs, but like you engage with everybody but them, like then like this is confusing messaging. So this is the background. So it comes from my story, like my origin story, and like that just follows in my professional life and in my entrepreneurial life as well.
Well, thank you for that. And um, I just want to thank you for acknowledging the way that Black women have supported you and have been part of your community because that's really who we are. And I know that, my experience, um, when I became an elected official, it was to try to villainize me of, you're intimidating. You have a strong personality. I'm sure if there's any Black women listening to this, they all are nodding their heads because we all get that. And it's like, I first of all, if you're intimidated, I would be asking what's going on inside of you that makes you feel intimidated because I welcome everybody. I'm literally a hugger, you know. And but there's this practice of trying to demonize and paint Black women as difficult, as aggressive, all these negative things. And really, when you look at our history, if you want to talk about data and looking at history, we have taken care of every community. We take care of people. That's what we do. Even when our slave masters were violating us on many levels, we breastfed their children. That is deep. That is deep.
Yes.
And so I'm honored to hear, and I'm not surprised that Black women embraced you and took you in, but I'm really happy that you had that community for you. That had to be terrifying to come from a different country and to try to orientate yourself to everything that's going on here in the States. That you needed that.
Yes.
So
And
I'm glad you did that.
yes, absolutely. And that was so interesting. I remember one example. So I had to go to one, like I'm fluent in American Sign Language, and I was looking for a church that would use American Sign Language, and there was one Lutheran church in deep south side Chicago. So my people felt like Eugene, you shouldn't go. You just shouldn't go. And I'm like, why shouldn't I go? You just shouldn't go. So I went and I'm like, okay, people said that I shouldn't go. Now I have to go. I have to see why I shouldn't go. So I arrive at the neighborhood and like I noticed people a little different. People like first of all, everybody's like genuinely kind. And it's a city of Chicago. In Chicago, yes, in certain neighborhoods, people are gonna be friendly, but it's a big city. Majority of the time, people are not as curious about you or not as friendly. So, like one guy, he came to me and he asked, "So, hey friend, like, what are you doing here? What are you looking for? How can I help you?" And I said, "Well, I'm looking for a Black Lutheran deaf church." And he looked at me like, "Are you deaf?" I'm like, "No." "Are you Lutheran?" I'm like, "No, I'm Baptist." I'm like, "Well, the church is right there." He just like kept staring at me. But it really, in that community, people were just so kind. And again, a Black woman. I was like, it was what, 9 months since I arrived, right? I just got my paperwork. I was looking for work, and she asked me, and she said, "Hey, you know sign language. You're a clinical psychologist. You're a youth counselor for homeless youth in Chicago. You have so many qualifications. Like I'm sure my friend who is in the position would like to talk to you. So." Give me your resume. And I did. And I had the same example with another lady from another church, and she was in power and she had the position. So, or at least not necessarily to hire me directly, but at least have a conversation and introduce me to her network. And the answer was just like nice smile, like, "Oh, Eugene, I will pray for you. Like, I hope it will work out for you." Like, but you have the access to those community. Like, can I at least network? Can you at least introduce me to people? Like, I'm afraid I don't know anyone. Like, this is just not the truth. But and this is that was my reality. This is why I said like people did look at me like less than. People look at me like, oh, okay, that might be something you have to shoot your shot. Who knows? So that's really like it goes deep. Like it goes deep why I'm working with Black and Latino entrepreneurs.
Yeah, it sounds like you're leveraging your origin story to kind of give back and help them to be prosperous,
Hmm.
more prosperous. And that's the
Yeah.
thing too, when you're charging appropriately, then you can make those investments back in community
Oh
for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because also I was talking to someone, I often do like networking chats, and that person said, "Oh, I would like to serve more Black entrepreneurs, but like unfortunately, people from my community cannot afford my services." And I said, "Well, wait a minute. Per my knowledge, per my experience, Black dollar is the strongest currency in the world that I know because this is what supports my. I don't know who are you charging, but like this is who support my business. This is why I'm still here. You just have to communicate the value, go out there and be open-minded." Again, like learn racism from the system. Because again, this is the system narrative that like Black people don't have money, Black people cannot be successful and things like this is simply not the case. This is simply again like from the outside, right? Like I don't know that much about race, history, and the background in America. I've only been here for 11 years, but this is the data that I literally have. You just have to go and connected with the premium buyer, no matter who you serve. It's challenging. This is why you have to be crystal clear who you're serving. This is why you have to be no BS. Like this is what you get. This is what I charge. This is the outcome. Like you want it or not, right? And this is how you got the customers like according to your prices.
Well, it's interesting because I believe Black women are the largest demographic of entrepreneurs growing,
Hmm.
Uh, and I think That's one of the things I admire about the younger generation, millennials, and younger.
Oh, we're good. We're good. I don't know when it stopped, but it's just automation. So we
Okay,
like keep going.
that they do want to live very differently. They're not a generation of I'm going to go to work from 9 to 5 and work myself to death for somebody else. They want their own, and
Mhm.
they want to have a quality of life. It's not I'm going to work 30 years at this place and just retire and that's my life. They want experiences. They may not want a 4 bedroom house because they want the freedom to travel and to do other things. And so I really admire that about them. But yes, you're right. I mean, it's all about going to the platforms where people are who are have the income bracket that would be able to afford the services, but also really are invested in self development, professional development, and understand the value of that, and they have the disposable income to do it. And so, LinkedIn is a great platform for that.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is what I like. This is what I teach too, because like Donovan again, like a little bit different demographic, like software engineers, but like only LinkedIn. He just started YouTube channel, and when you have those like two connections, that's absolutely 100% true. And speaking of black women entrepreneurs, two of my coaches were black women. One of them was career coach because my first offer was career coaching offer, and when I saw her, I was like, hey, I know I'm not a black woman in HR, but I
Mhm.
want to be like you. I want to do what you do. And like, there's a little piece that I can figure it out. Do you offer like one-off coaching for other career coaches? I would be beyond honor if you could teach me about messaging and like what I should do. And we worked together really well, and the outcome was absolutely fantastic. And then another coach, like it was a group coaching program, and they worked together. And again, everything, the majority, not necessarily everything, the majority, the foundation about messaging, about marketing, about how to show up, the confidence, it came from those two black coaches, black female coaches that taught me and put me together basically as an entrepreneur, to be honest with you.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
All right, so let me like I think we see we have one question in the comments. So as you are like we want to wrap up here soon, so drop your questions in the chat. So there's a question from Felicia, and she said, "What happens when advocates pursue office and then learn they aren't prepared for the politics behind the decision making?"
That's why I'm coaching. Because most times when we go in, we're looking at the office and the community, and we're not thinking about how this is going to affect us personally. And I will tell you that every relationship you have will change, particularly if you are running for a municipal position like a mayor or higher. And unfortunately, I know a lot of women mayors who have gotten divorced. Um, so there's a lot of dynamics that go on, and that's why I have a special place in my heart to coach women who are aspiring because one, we're everything to everybody. And we have to learn to set boundaries or we will burn out. We will not be well. And if we don't listen, I believe that God, the universe, whomever you believe in, has a way of sitting your butt down when you're not listening. And that might be putting you in the hospital for a few days, but you can literally just run yourself ragged. People, when I was mayor, I have written checks to bury people who didn't have insurance. I don't publicize that, of course, but people come to you with everything, especially at that local level position. And dynamics, in your relationships are definitely going to change. Particularly, if you're married, you have a partner. If you have children, how will your kids be affected? When I was mayor, my children were already grown. I'm grateful for that because the things that they did, the disinformation that was put out, the horrible things that were said, I'm so grateful my kids were grown and kind of away, you know. But you need to be prepared for all of that, and you need to build networks, strong networks around you of people that you can trust, and not just people who want something from you because they want to access the power and the position that you have.
This is so good. This is so good. And Felicia said you can please everyone. Yeah, absolutely. You can please everyone. Like,
And a lot of times too, Felicia, things happen for me like I governed through COVID. I had no idea. Nobody that ran for public office knew that we were going to be in a pandemic. And so sometimes things are happening and you have to make decisions very quickly. And you're making decisions on the information that you have, you know. And I told my community that. I'm like, we none of us could have predicted this. I'm gonna make mistakes. I'm gonna make people mad, but I am doing the best I can, and we can adjust. You know, we will course correct. You know, if we need to. Of course, as a Black woman, you're not given the grace of being able to make a mistake. Of course, correct. Um, but I was very upfront about that, and you have to be able to handle when people aren't happy with you.
yes. All right, Chastity, how people can connect with you, where people can find you. If somebody is watching, like, okay, Chastity is my person. I want to run for office. I need confidence. How they can find you, how they can work with you.
And so, two things. I am in the process of launching my brand, and I'm on LinkedIn under Chasity Wells-Armstrong. My coaching practice is Catalyst Coaching and Transformation. Chastity, hello at chasitywells.com is my email. And people can get a hold of me on LinkedIn under Chastity Wells Armstrong.
Nice. All right. And can you and like we're gonna chat a little bit after our stream. So if you can provide me that information for our podcast listeners, I will put all the information in the description. So if you are on YouTube, you can already see the link for the LinkedIn profile. So you can go ahead and connect with Chastity.
I'm on
Yeah.
Instagram too, Eugene.
All right. Yeah, you're on Instagram too.
Coach Chastity.
Okay. Like, but LinkedIn is your main platform, right? Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, Chastity, thank you so much for coming here today. Connect with Chastity if you haven't already. If you are thinking about starting your own coaching program, your own entrepreneurship journey, and like you listen to this and you realize, yes, I can charge high prices. I can at least charge 2,500. Like, I just need to figure out how. So the application link is in the comments as well. The doors are open, and I will see you all tomorrow. All right.